With the SM57, there are a few things that I think you can do to improve your sound quality. First off would be if you have the microphone close to your keyboard or your mouse, get it farther away from that, get it closer to your mouth, which will improve the signal to background noise ratio. I will demonstrate that. I also think picking up a shock mount or some kind of shock absorber could help. Here I have the Shure A55M, which is some kind of weird shock mount design specifically for this microphone body shape. And also, there is a nice little trick about the springs on a boom arm, which can help you as well. First off, I have the SM57 pretty far away from my mouth, and I am typing on my keyboard. You can hear that quite loudly. Then, if I were to move the microphone up closer to my mouth, you can tell my voice is louder. And then when I type, the keyboard is significantly quieter. Also, when you're positioning the microphone, make sure that you play the polar pattern, meaning use the dead areas of the polar pattern to your advantage. The SM57 is a cardioid microphone, so point the rear of the microphone towards the loud sound sources. So I've placed the keyboard towards the rear of the microphone, and here is how that sounds. The next issue that I want to discuss is the mouse. I will go ahead and pick up and drop my mouse. You can hear a little bit of jingling. That is from the springs on the boom arm, those sons of guns. They are incredibly loud and they can ruin a recording. There is a trick that a submariner, somebody who works on a submarine sent me an email suggesting, and that would be to wrap the springs with a bit of gaffer tape, or I didn't have gaffer tape, I used duct tape, and that did help a little bit. Not amazingly, but it did improve it. It did reduce the amount of jingling and resonance. I did get some gaffer tape. I should adjust that, but I haven't done so yet. If you have a boom arm with springs on it, go ahead and wrap duct tape or gaffer tape with a little bit of cloth around the springs to dampen them a little bit more and reduce that kind of noise. And lastly, I mentioned the shock mount. I will go ahead and tap the boom arm just in the standard Shure mounting system, just the firm microphone mount. It sounds terrible. It is incredibly loud. It is incredibly distracting. Let me switch out the microphone mount with the shock mount and see if it improves that. Now I have the SM57 in the Shure A55M air suspension mounting system, and I will bump the boom arm again. It is significantly improved. I believe that this shock mount goes for $15 to $20, somewhere in that range. I think that would be a huge improvement, and it would really limit the amount of noise picked up from your mouse when you're lifting it and placing it back down. I also don't know exactly what you're using the microphone for, if you're making content, if you're gaming, if you're teaching. One trick that I did was I adjusted the way that I was utilizing the mouse while I was recording. While I'm recording, I no longer use a typical mouse. I use the dreaded trackpad from Apple. And what this does is it eliminates me from picking up the mouse and placing it back down. Now all I do is pick up my fingers and run it along the trackpad. I don't know if that's an option for you, but that's something that I have adopted over the last few years of making this show. I hope that helped you a little bit. Get a shock mount, get the microphone closer to your mouth, wrap some duct tape around the springs of your boom arm to reduce the jingling and jangling of that, and play the polar pattern, put the loud sound sources in the dead area of the pattern.